I was reading an article from the late 1800s, and the memory was concerning a visit to their grandparents, and she talked about how Grandma used to make chicken and dumplings, so I thought it'd be a good time for me to go ahead and make our chicken and dumpling stew that we like so well. When I make chicken and dumpling, I try to make, with almost any soups, a couple, 2-3 days worth. So this is a pretty big pot. And it's something that our temperatures have been in the minuses, so this will be good and warm for us today. We keep vegetables underneath our ice box. We don't have a cellar, we're limited on our storage room. So we find that under there we can keep a couple 100 pounds. Our ice box is very large, has nice deep area underneath it. The heat of the stove doesn't bother it. And it helps the longevity of our produce. Sometimes I'll boil our potato peels for our chickens. They don't always like them though very much, so it's not very often I do that. The crazy thing is, our dogs love potato peels. They're actually kind of wild about them. Everybody come sit. Everybody sit. Sit. Good girls. Sit. Good girls. Daisy, nicely. Daisy, nicely. Sally, nicely. Good girl. Patches, nicely. Good girl. Molly, nicely. Good girl. Okay, all gone. All done. Everybody go lay down. Go on, go lay down. It's all gone. I think one of the lost arts we have today is the ability to be quiet, not to need noise, background noise, and not to need conversation. Sometimes we get comments from people who want it to be quick, and we just want to relax and enjoy the moment, just like the sounds of cooking. Hi everyone, this is Leah with Family Heritage Living. I was reading today another story about a youngster visiting their grandmother, and I thought I'd share it with you. This too is about turn of the century. It's a very short story, but it has a lot of pleasant little memories in the story itself. And the story begins. I was born in 1899, so you see I can remember back quite a ways. The most pleasant and dearest memories I have are about the times I spent on the farm with my grandmother. I used to spend my summer vacations on the farm. I loved every minute of it. I remember we used to take the produce to town every Saturday. That was a great treat. Many of the time my grandmother would take in 2 or 3 large buckets of eggs and get 5 cents a dozen for them in trade. If I had a penny to spend for candy, I was very rich. One got a lot of candy in those days for a penny. One could buy calico, many do not know what calico is today, for 5 to 15 cents a yard. If you would go into a store today and ask for calico, people wouldn't know what you were talking about. I have worn many a dress made from calico. It was a printed material and came in red and blue and gray. We bought aisles of hose for 25 cents a yard. We didn't know what it was to buy a loaf of bread or a cake in those days. Everyone did their own baking. Things like ice cream and pink soda pop were indeed a luxury. I was impressed with the article in the magazine called Apron Applause. My grandmother always wore a large apron, and I have seen her gather eggs in it or carry in chips from the wood pile for the fire, or pick beans from the garden. That apron was a must, and the handiest thing grandmother had. Many of the time she would take me on her lap, cover me with her apron, and sing me to sleep. When I was sleepy, I would say, "Ma, get your apron." She always did. Grandmother always raised a lot of chickens, and it was my delight to help her with them. It was such fun to gather eggs. There were always cows to drive home from the pasture, and that was my job. I loved it. No one could cook like grandmother. And did I ever love her chicken and dumplings? She did her own baking and churning. How wonderful it was to come in hungry and have a large slice of hot bread spread with fresh churned butter and a large glass of buttermilk. 'Tis sweet to recall all those days. People really lived in those days. They may have been poor, but there was always food on the table and clothes to wear, even if some of them were made out of flour sacks. People reverenced God in those days, and everyone went to church. Harvest time came and there were 20 or 24 men to cook for. It was up before dawn and work to beat the band all day and until late at night. The bed looked mighty good when we finally tumbled into it at night, but our sleep and rest was indeed sweet, and we rose the next morning ready to tackle another day with all its problems. Those are the days as I remember them. Well, the memories that we've been sharing certainly are quite in contrast to those memories of today's that most of us have. We can't bring the time back like that, but we certainly can slow life down and encourage thoughtfulness for the daily events and try to teach the ability to learn to be quiet for a little bit. That's really a lost art. Just like visiting is a lost art. So I hope you guys enjoyed this visit. And until next time, God bless.